Hello everyone. Welcome to the sixth session in the second year of our Disability and Arts webinar series. We're so thankful that you've chosen to join us today. My name is Amanda Noyes, and I am the Arts Learning and Accessibility Director for the South Carolina Arts Commission. My pronouns are she and her. I am a white female in my mid-30s with brown hair. I have curled today. I'm wearing an orange shirt and a cream sweater. The mission of the South Carolina Arts Commission is to promote access to the arts and to support the cultivation of creativity in South Carolina. We are seeking to meet that mission in part through our partnership with Able South Carolina. We know that we can't have true access to the arts if arts programs and facilities are not accessible. About 2 years ago, the South Carolina Arts Commission launched our Arts for All SC grant, which was our first large-scale effort to support arts organizations who desire to work towards being more accessible. Since that launch, our partnership with Able SC has grown, and we're now working collaboratively to support arts organizations across the state in their accessibility journey. If you are an arts organization in South Carolina and are not sure where to begin or feel like you need additional support or assistance in your accessibility work, please feel free to contact me and our friends over at Able. We would really love to speak with you. Part of the work that we're doing together is this webinar series. You can view previous topics in the series by going to our YouTube channel. There we go. Today, I am excited to introduce Dori Tempio, the Senior Director of Community Education at Able South Carolina, who will start us off with an introduction and overview of assistive technology. We will then have the opportunity to hear from a panel of folks who utilize assistive technology in their lives. Please feel free to join in this conversation and ask questions throughout the webinar today. Dori, I'd love to hand it over to you and you can get us started.
Good afternoon, everyone. We hope you are doing fabulous on this Wednesday afternoon, April 2nd, 2025. We are so excited to be with you to talk about assistive technology and easy hacks in art for accessibility. Woohoo! And on the screen, we have a picture of an Aloha wheelchair painting from Gordon Sosky from Satchart. It's a beautiful visual of what looks like a wheelchair and done through different materials and mediums and strips, and it's really beautiful, and we're excited to share that. We'll go to the next slide, please. I'm excited to introduce you all to my co-panelists and presenters who have lots of great hacks and fun strategies to share today. For those of you who may have met me before on a previous webinar or I'm new to meeting you, welcome. I am Dori Tempio. I am the Senior Director of Community Education for Able South Carolina. I'm not sure if she's here yet, but I'm going to introduce my colleague, Angel. Angel, are you here? Might not be here yet, but then I'll go ahead and turn it over to Gabe.
I'm here.
You want to introduce yourself? Angel, was that you?
I'm here, sorry.
Feel free to introduce yourself.
Hi, everybody. I'm Angel Lee. I work in the Columbia office. I have been with Able South Carolina for about 2 years now. I'm very excited to be a part of this. I am a wheelchair user. I am missing both of my arms to just above where my elbows would be, and I'm missing my right leg. I am Korean American and I have fair skin, and in my picture I have kind of blonde hair with some purple in it, and I'm wearing a black top.
I'm going to go to Gabe next. Take it away, Gabe.
Audio now. Hi, everybody. My name is Gabe Pizzo, and I'm an equip leader at Able South Carolina. And I work in the Greenville office. And I have been an equip leader for a little over a year already. I'm really happy to be here.
Awesome. Thanks, Gabe. And
You're
Grace.
welcome. I did want to add, I'm also visually impaired. I do have light perception. So like I can tell like, if the lights in the building are on or off, and I can see the sun, like if it's setting or if it's rising. But the only thing I can't really see that I wish I could is people. I can tell people in the room, but I can't really see what they look like.
Hey, Gabe, I'm going to ask you a quick favor. Are you
What's up?
using an external mic or a different mic? Because we're having a little trouble hearing you, and I'm not sure if it's because you're not close enough to the mic or, you have such great things to share.
I know I've been having a little bit of trouble with my mic. Can you hear me now?
I can.
Yeah.
There we go.
You want to repeat what you said? Because I don't want anyone to miss all the great things you had to share.
I sure can. So, I don't know if everybody heard, but I earlier I mentioned that I am visually impaired, which means that I do have a little bit of light perception. Um, so like I can tell, like if we were in a building, I could tell like if the lights were on or off, and I could see the sun if it's setting or if it's rising. But one of the things I haven't been able to see real well is people, which I can tell if there's people in the room, but like I can't see what they look like.
Thank you.
You're
All
welcome.
all right, Grace, would you like to go next?
Hi, my name is Grace Tumpower. I've worked at Able, South Carolina for I don't even know how long, a long time. And I used to be an equip leader, and now I am the youth program assistant. And I just wanted to describe my picture that's up here for anybody that might be visually impaired. I was going to do a visual description. It's a picture of me speaking at Advocacy Day. I think this was 3 years ago or 4 years ago. And I'm on the steps of the Columbia, the state house, and speaking into a microphone. And I'm wearing my blue and orange shirt that says Advocacy for Access and Independence. And then in my hand, I have some beads that I'm stimming with on the beads. And then in my lap is my communication device. And I have really short brown hair, and I'm smiling, and my glasses are tinted, so they're not sunglasses, but they kind of look like sunglasses. And that's just my quick visual description of my picture that's up there.
Thank you, Grace. And I am a person with both a physical disability and a developmental disability. I am a white individual with blue eyes. I have in the picture, I'm wearing a floral dress with gray and multicolored flowers. I'm sitting in my power wheelchair that is silver, black, and blue in front of some greenery, trees, and bushes. But we are all happy to have you with us today. We're going to talk a little bit of overview of what are hacks and how do we use them to create art, all mediums of art, so that we can all participate in the arts. So we're going to go to the next slide, Amanda. I wanted to ask you all, do you all remember these Kings of Life hacks? These are MacGyver, and I have to have both because usually when I do presentations, we may have different generations participating. So if you're of my generation, you know of Richard Dean Anderson, and Richard Dean Anderson is the original King of Life hacks, MacGyver. And then a few years ago, we had another individual take on the role of MacGyver. And MacGyver was all about taking everyday, simple things that we have around the house and using them. He would use them to fight for the freedoms of people in the country. Those of us in everyday life are using these life hacks to be able to participate in community activities and the arts. So, but I wanted to see if anyone in the chat want to tell me, do y'all remember these Kings of Life hacks? Do y'all remember MacGyver? I'm looking to see if anyone in the chat has a yes or no. Ooh, I see some thumbs up. Yay! Woohoo! Then I'm not alone. Y'all are making me feel better. Thank you. Woohoo! All right. So I'm going to go with you, and we're gonna go to the next. It was my absolute favorite show, Mary. I loved it. I wanted to read a poem to y'all from an individual with an intellectual developmental disability named Amy Sipple. And Amy said, in a world that spins so fast and furious, where tasks pile up both big and serious, we seek a magic spell, a secret knack. Lo and behold, we find the life hack. Why a life hack, you might inquire? To boost our success, to leap higher and higher. They're the cheat codes in the game of living, making life easier so you can keep on winning. And that's what we're going to talk about, the everyday tools, resources, and materials that we can utilize to participate in the arts to help individuals with disabilities to be able to have the same experiences with all mediums of art that everyone wants to have. We're going to go to the next slide. I wanted to show you all an artist. Her name was Judith. Judith worked very hard. She was world renowned. She was known for creating sculptures out of string. She grew up with an intellectual developmental disability, and Judith started her life in an institution for people with disabilities, and much of her art, whether it was sculpture, whether it was painting, or other mediums that she did, reflected her experiences of institutionalization, and it represented her experiences of disability and what it was to be a person with a disability growing up. But one of the things that we want to emphasize with everyone, and I know we've done it in some of our other webinars, but the most critical thing when we're looking at putting on art programs, art events, and providing art services is making sure that we are integrating people with disabilities with people without disabilities. And Judith took a lot of sculpting classes with people without disabilities. So one of the things to really be thinking about as you're creating your programs, services, and events is you want to be in alignment with the Americans with Disabilities Act to make sure we're providing people with disabilities the same opportunities to participate in art programs and events with the mainstream of society. When public entities make their programs, services, and activities accessible to the disability community, and we do it in a way that integrates all people, we're able to meet the needs of all individuals, including people with disabilities. While separate, or what the society likes to call special activities, are permitted under Title II of the Americans with Disabilities Act, it is not encouraged, and we can't deny individuals from participating in programs that all individuals want to. So if Dori, if Gabe, if Grace, if Angel, if any of us wanted to come and participate, and Isabel, we wanted to participate in an art program, we can do that. We don't have to go to a program that's only for people with disabilities. And the law says that we cannot be denied access to the regular program, according to the Department of Justice. So we just want to make sure, as we're talking about these life hacks, that we're interweaving them in integrated programs for all people that want to participate together. Next slide, please. We've talked about some of the barriers that people with disabilities encounter when they try to go and participate in art programs and events. One of the top being transportation and physical access, not having access to accessible parking, ramps, elevators, even doors to an event or doors to a bathroom or signage. If we don't have braille signage or we don't have large print signage, people can't navigate a space. That really makes it difficult to attend workshops, exhibits. If we are having events and services that are outside of public transportation as well, people don't have the opportunity who don't drive to be able to get to those events. A second thing is the seating and workspace accessibility. So if we're holding an event or a program where we're asking people to create art, we have to make sure these studios and spaces have adjustable tables, that they have space for maneuvering wheelchairs, crutches, roll leaders, canes, and other assistive technology. We also have to look at the seating arrangements. Are we making seating where people with disabilities can integrate into the seating with their peers without disabilities? I can't tell you how many times I've had to go to an event and I had to sit all the way in the back, or I had to go to an event and I couldn't sit with my husband or my family and friends that I went to the event with because the seating wasn't integrated for all people. Also, there may be people with hearing disabilities or other communication disabilities that need the opportunity to have access to a sign language interpreter, captioning. Some individuals may need what we call an AM service. It looks like a little, I call it, for those of you who are my generation, it looks like a little beeper, and it attaches to you and you are able to see what they're saying digitally on the stage or on the screen if you're going to a theater. Material and tool adaptation. So are we using supplies and tools like a paintbrush, a pottery wheel, or instruments that are designed for people with different physical needs, with people who may have limited ability to use their hands and other parts of their bodies? Fatigue and energy management. A lot of times we don't think about, we're going to have an event or a program and we're going to have it go for 2 hours or more without any break, and without that break, that can be really difficult. People need a break sometimes with disabilities, whether it's to relax their physical body, whether it's a break for the sensory overload that could be happening, whether it's a break just to absorb everything that's being shared in a program or service. There's a lot of different reasons people may need breaks, and offering them are so important. Digital and communication barriers include making sure that our websites, our sign-in sheets, our materials that we're using in an event, are they screen reader friendly? If they're not, and they really should be if it's online and we're using digital formats in this day and age, because they're required to be. But are they accessible for people who may use alternative input devices? And it's really, really important that we're having those options. The biggest challenge that people with disabilities note across the country and in South Carolina to participating in community events that include art and mediums of art are still those attitudinal barriers, that stigma, that idea that people with disabilities, we don't want to participate and we don't want to take part. We also don't see a lot of representation of people with disabilities who are artists. We don't see teaching strategies that are universally designed and inclusive of different assistive technology and devices that people with disabilities. Another big barrier can be if staff or individuals running the event or program are not familiar with people's accessibility needs. So they're not asking what accommodations a person may need before the event takes part. All right. Thank you. Can we go to the next slide? So now we're going to talk about my favorite thing, and I know it's Isabel's, Gabe's, Grace's, Angel, everybody on this panel, assistive technology. We always say in our realm that assistive technology is the great equalizer. It allows individuals with disabilities to have those opportunities to participate, and the acronym is called AT. All right, let's go to the next slide. So, our team at Able South Carolina, a lot of us are artists, a lot of us participate in art. So we asked individuals, what are some examples of assistive technologies that you may use to take part in the arts? And we broke it down into different categories, and we're going to give you all some examples. So for the visual arts, there are things called eye gaze and head tracking software. And what it does is it allows an individual who doesn't have the use of their extremities and their bodies, but their eyes, to be able to paint or draw. So there are devices that attach to the head that allow you to use your eye and your head to be able to track the digital paintbrush or the digital art instrument through eye movements or head gestures so that you can participate in the arts. There are 3D printable, accessible brushes and grips that you can make from a 3D printer. These are really cool items. I've used one. They are custom designed grips, usually made out of rubber and other mediums, that allow a pencil, a paintbrush, or other art implements to be able to be accessible for people who may have limited dexterity or fine motor coordination. Then we have adaptive easels and tables where we can have motorized or adjustable height workstations that accommodate wheelchair users or individuals with different mobility needs. We can even go low tech, and we could get some blocks from the Home Depot or Lowe's made out of wood that cost $2, and we put them under a table or desk, and it allows it to be raised so an individual can use that easel, table, or art station. Then we have tactile graphics display, and what that does, it will take an image and it will transfer it into a tactile representation so that people who have visual disabilities are able to touch that artwork, are able to touch that material, and they're able to have a more immersive experience with the art and with the creation of that art. Another great device is called electronic drawing tablets. I'm going to give you some of the companies that make them. Wacom iPad with Apple Pencil. Samsung has a tablet as well. And they are devices that help individuals with disabilities who have fine motor coordination difficulties. They will allow individuals to draw, sketch, or paint with more precision. And it also allows the individual to customize the setting on the tablet's pencil or other device that you're using to do the painting or writing. And it will allow you, this is what I do, adjust the pressure on it or the size of it so that you can grip it if you don't have good use of your fingers or hands. And we gave an example of what one of those looks like from a local community art center in Indiana. It's a special grip to be able to design a painting, and it goes on a paintbrush made out of just simple everyday rubber and plastic. All right, next slide. We also have 3D printing, and for some people who can't create traditional physical artwork, 3D printing allows them to design and create sculptures or make models out of online like you would out of clay if you were doing it physically in the room, which can then be printed into those sculptures and models that people want to make. I had a friend who had a visual disability, and he liked to do like other people, he liked to do 3D airplane models, and he would use a 3D printer and the technology to make those airplane models with his dad because he wanted the same experience that all kids have. Mouth and footprint painting tools. People who may not use their hands to paint, sculpt, and do other things can use other tools like brushes and pens that can be held in the mouth or foot, allowing art expression through unconventional methods. Coloring assistance. This is one of the most wonderful things that was invented. It assists people with color blindness. It will provide clear indications of colors being used, making it easier to engage in the visual art. So if you're wanting to use a variety of colors and you're wanting to understand what colors you're using, it's a great tool. Adaptive touchscreen interfaces. So people with physical and fine motor disabilities, they can use touchscreens and tablets with adjustable sensitivity and large virtual buttons that accommodate those different levels of dexterity. I make cards and I use an adaptable, what you would call an adaptable mouse, and sometimes I use a joystick. I have a friend who uses what's called adaptive switches to create art, and they look like different colored buttons, and they're of different sizes and textures, and it helps people to be able to draw, paint, or sculpt directly on the screen, but be able to use whatever is more physically comfortable for them, and it offers more control to individuals who may have physical or mobility disabilities. Tactile art supplies, if you all have never heard of that, are things like raised line paper, other art supplies, paintbrushes. It could be the actual easel that you use that have different textures. There are people with certain disabilities that do better with texture things. And when you can have that tactile material, it helps make your art even more vibrant. It allows you to interpret your work through touch. That's a lot of why Judith, who I showed you in the beginning, liked to do string art sculpture because of the texture of the strings. It made it easier for her to adapt. Judith also had some visual disabilities as well. So the texture helped make it easier to interpret and move the string around as she was sculpting. Sensory feedback tools are things that allow people to feel vibrations or haptic feedback. They allow individuals with sensory disabilities to understand or modify their artwork because they can feel the vibration and where it is, and it allows them to know how to adjust so they can create the art that they want to create. Next slide. If y'all are not familiar, this is Galen Lee. Galen is a famous violinist and public speaker. She is amazing. So we wanted to talk about music and sound art next. There is a device called Soundbeam. It translates physical movement into music. It enables individuals with limited physical mobility to be able to create soundscapes. There is adaptive MIDI controllers. It's like devices like X-Keys, XK24. They allow users to map sound controls to accessible switches, joysticks, or touch-sensitive surfaces. Haptic metronomes are wearable metronomes that provide vibrations instead of sound, and it aids musicians that have hearing disability to be able to create the music they want through the vibrations. And then one-handed instruments, so adaptive guitars, pianos, and other instruments may help people with limited limb function or limited use of their hands or other parts of their body. Next slide. sculpture and woodworking. Woohoo! I love this. I got into woodworking in my industrial arts class in middle school because my middle school teacher, this was before we had assistive technology, before we had devices, he would make devices so that I could woodwork with my students and peers, and I loved it. So there are different things that we wanted to share with you because even if you don't own them yourselves, we may be able to connect with other community groups that have them that could allow you to work with them and the participants in your program. Sometimes people are willing to loan equipment too. So these are great opportunities, but one of them is a voice controlled CNC machine and laser cutter. And it allows artists to design and cut materials with voice commands. So if Dori said something like, turn on cutter, cut right, it would cut it the way I would want it to cut and help me design that wood sculpture just using my voice. A 3D printed prosthetic tools, custom prosthetics designed for sculpting, woodworking, or detailed handwork that can be designed for an individual, especially when somebody, this is their passion, this is what they want to do, this is a career they want. And for some of us like me, I love doing art. I write poetry, I do cards, I make my own digital art, and I like to do that in my spare time, like we all do for relaxation too. Magnetized and Velcro tool attachments. They are it's like pieces of Velcro that will have the tool attached to it, and it will allow an individual to grip the materials and manipulate and use those tools more easily. Foot pedal operated equipment, so pottery wheels, saws, drills, equipment like that doesn't have to just be operated with your hands. You can operate it with your feet. I know some people, my friends, who use their knee. They may use their elbow if they don't have full use of their hands or feet. So there's a lot of creative think outside the box. And then we added a website that has some other innovative tips for woodworking and people with disabilities. Next slide. One of my favorite digital and graphic arts, voice controlled design software. If you all did not know this, Photoshop, Illustrator, or CAD software can now be operated through voice technology. And for some of you who may not be as familiar, if you've ever used Siri, if you've ever used Cortana, that is what voice technology is. A lot of us here also use it on our technology that we use for work and other facets of our life too. It's like Alexa. It's really great. Actually, I have a friend that has an Alexa hooked up to another device that allows them to do graphic design. So it's pretty cool what technology can help folks do these days. Braille displays for digital design. It will convert visual design elements into a tactile interface for blind artists. We have adaptive styluses. Most of us know styluses when they first came out to just use on digital tablets, but now they have things like Art Hand and Steady Mouse. And I wanted y'all to see the girl in the picture is using one of them. It helps artists with limited movement in their hands, fine motor coordination, even people who may experience tremors to be able to do digital artwork more accurately. And then we have VR applications and AR art tools, virtual reality, all these great things like Tilt Brush or Quill, and they allow individuals to create art in a 3D space. And that's really helpful because just because you can't do it in the traditional medium doesn't mean you don't want to do it. And I know all the people joining us today feel that way, that we all want to participate. We all want to find our passions and live our passions. And art is just one way to do that. Next slide. We wanted y'all to see an example of digital art. This is an adaptive painting system using eye tracking software that let an artist who had no arms create a digital design on a robotic canvas system. And the robotic canvas system uses brushes that are digital with paint and through the eye tracking software. So basically, all they're using is their eyes to create that paint, and their eye gaze connects with the robotic canvas system and the digital brushes in the canvas system to create the art the individual wants. I love it. Mary loves it. Our whole team loves it because it's a hybrid approach and it combines traditional art with cutting edge technology. And at the end of the day, that empowers people to love art. It empowers individuals to express themselves. Next slide, please. We put some together for theater and performance art. It could be captioning and speech to text apps. That's where it will take our speech and put it in text. So apps like Ava Live Transcribe, it provides real-time captioning for deaf and hard of hearing actors or audience members. Haptic feedback suits. It allows the performer to wear the suit and they feel the vibrations of sound cues, and it helps them to make the music and cues accessible to deaf performers. And then another one is wheelchair accessible stages and props. I don't know about you all. I remember being in the theater when I was a child. I loved theater. I did it through high school, and the stage wasn't accessible. And so when I would have to perform, I'd have to be in front of the stage by myself while everybody else was on the stage. And I love that now we have automated height adjustable platforms. We have lightweight, easy to maneuver props and ramps. So wherever possible, make those theaters, make those platforms and stages accessible. From personal experience, it's not fun to be the only one not on the stage and not with your peers who are all giving a performance together. So the more we can make theater and performance art accessible, the better. Next slide. We told you we weren't leaving out any type of art. Our group is really good at coming up with ideas, tools, strategies. As I said, many of us are artists, as are many of the individuals, clients, and consumers that we serve in the community who shared ideas as well. Speech to text software, I use that to write poetry, and that's a great thing. It allows you to dictate your words into a microphone and it will type it on the screen for you. Braille note takers and displays allow visually disabled writers to compose and edit their work using a refreshable Braille display. Smart pens are digitally, they're like a recorder. You can digitally in the pen record your handwritten notes and audio simultaneously. It assists writers with dyslexia or memory disabilities. Text-to-speech tools reads written text aloud, so it will help people with visual disabilities who are writers or those with learning disabilities like dyslexia to hear what their thoughts are and have it read back aloud to them. Adaptive keyboards and one-handed typing solutions, so ergonomic keyboards enable writers with limited mobility to be able to type efficiently. I used to use my hands were a little bit better. I had an ergonomic keyboard. It had bigger buttons on it. Some of the keys were even more touch sensitive to make it easier. So when I was doing my poetry, I could do it that way. Now I use voice to text. You have poetry generating AI tools. I love this, like Grammarly's tone adjuster or poem generator. AI helps writers experiment with new styles and formats. Haptic feedback typing devices allow individuals with limited sensation in their fingers by providing vibrations on the keys when typing so they can feel where they're typing. And then augmentative and alternative communication devices, or what we call AAC. They allow individuals to communicate through an AAC device by converting typed text into spoken words. And I know my friend Grace will share some of that. Grace is an amazing writer, speech giver, artist, and augmentative and alternative communication go a long way to ensuring that folks who all get the opportunity to communicate, no matter whether we use our physical voice or other methods to communicate. Next slide. Guess what, y'all? Disability hacks. They don't have to cost a lot, because a lot of times people are thinking we're talking about some of these devices, talking about ideas. I often have been shared with by the community. Sometimes in their mind, they think they're hearing the word ka-ching. But in all reality, most disability hacks cost $1 or $0. So we're going to talk about that next. Next slide. Thank you. Here's some creative ideas. A magnetic art tool holder. You could buy this in the store, my friends. I've seen it. It will cost $50 to $80 to $100. We don't have to spend that kind of money. Instead, I don't know if any of you are like me. I love a good thrift shop. I love a good sale. I love the Goodwill. You can go and get a magnetic tray. Or does everybody remember the tray tables or the TV tables of like the 60s and 70s that were made out of metal? You can find them at thrift shops and Goodwills and other places. You can take a metal tray. You put a magnetic sheet that you can buy for a couple of dollars at the craft store. You can put that on there, and it allows the person to put their paintbrushes, their sculpting instruments, and it will stick, because if you put the magnetic tape on it, on the implement, on the paintbrush, the sculpting devices, and then you put it on the metal table, they won't move. I had a friend who put it on her clay too that she sculpted, and the magnetic on the bottom of the clay holding down to the metal tray allowed her to do her modeling and sculpting ideas without it sliding off of the table. So another one, a homemade textured brush. So you could go to the fabric store or a craft store, and you ask them for the fabric extras they have. And they have a lot of fabric extras. So the extra fabric that people don't buy, that doesn't get used. Fabric swatches or rubber tips. And you put them on the end of a long paintbrush or sculpting tool. And it creates a sensory-friendly brush. So the individual using it can feel the different textures on the brush. And it's also very soothing for those of us who know what that's like to have a soother. It soothes you while you're actually doing your painting, sculpting, designing. For people who have sensory overload, this can really help you to what we call be soothed and reduce that sensory overload as you're painting, sculpting, creating. Handle extensions for art tools. You could have a long, lightweight rod or broomstick to existing art tools. So paintbrushes, sculpting tools, rollers. I've also gone to Walmart, the Home Depot, and Lowe's, and the craft store and got a dowel that you can get for less than $1. And then you use sturdy tape, like Gorilla Tape, if that helps people to know. Or you can get the Velcro tape that is at the craft store and put it on there, and it will allow an individual who needs an extended sculpting tool, roller, paintbrush to be able to do it. Because if you buy these things in catalogs, they do exist. They're much, much more money, but you can create them. And trust me, people with disabilities, we know what it's like to be cost effective. And so we're all about creating, being creative, thinking outside the box. Adaptive books or canvas holders. So what you do is you take a strong rubber band or Velcro strip. You can secure it to a book or a binder or a sketch pad or a canvas. Or you can even use a slanted easel. It's great for artists who have limited hand control. It allows you to be able to work on that art without the materials falling across the table, falling over. It keeps your materials held in place. Another great thing, if you can't find those, binder clips, binder clips, binder clips. I use them to create art and things too. They're inexpensive. I clip it to a 2-inch binder at the top, and then I put the clip on the piece of paper to hold it down. Cost me $2. I could buy the same piece of equipment. They want $40 for something that does the same thing online that I created for $2 outside. So there's a lot of ways to make things accessible. You can make them cool too. I always ask people when I'm working with individuals in the community who might be reluctant to use it, how can we make this cool for you? For children, sometimes it's stickers. For adults, sometimes it's maybe they want to paint it or use the color they want, that so it doesn't stand out as much. There's a lot of easy things to do to make it look nice aesthetically and also allow people to participate in art. Next slide. We're going to tell you use materials you can find anywhere. If you all see the rubber in the first picture, Home Depot, Lowe's, Walmart, I just bought it to put it on something I need to use for work. They sell the same stuff in accessible magazines, but in accessible magazines, they wanted $60 for a small roll of the rubber matting. If y'all go to the kitchen aisle, they have it in Walmart, Target, Lowe's, Home Depot. You can get it in a variety of colors. It's basically the same stuff we use to put in cupboards and drawers to line them. And you put it on the handle. We just wanted y'all to be able to see what it looks like around different pieces of equipment. Then we wanted you to see some easy ways to make different types of hand grips that we were talking about earlier. We have some of them on markers. We have some on a pencil, some on some crayons. And look, with the crayons, we took like a wooden spatula, took the crayons and then taped the crayons to the wooden spatula. Wooden spatula, $2 at Walmart. Crayons, 50 cents. It all works. And tape, $1.50. And then just some other really great ways you can make things. If y'all see the marker, and I'm not sure if it's Amanda or Mary running the PowerPoint right now, so I'm going to ask whoever's running the PowerPoint, can you go to the red marker in the second picture for me? It looks like a Crayola marker, Amanda. It's red colored. Well, all that is Velcro tape. And then you get it at the craft store, you put it around the marker, then you take another piece and you put it through the back. Then a person can slide their fingers in. I'm trying to show you how it would work. You slide your fingers in that hole and you can grip it like that. Can you show the purple marker? Can you point to that one, Amanda? All that is a rubber ball like kids throw. That you can buy at a toy store, at a Target, at a Walmart. And you poke a hole in the rubber ball and you put the marker through it. That's all it is, and it allows an individual to be able to grip it. They sell these things really expensive that you can buy, but I used something similar when I was younger. It cost my parents and I $1.50 at the Walmart. It's really affordable if you can make your own. And we gave some sources of other ideas, Equipped to Adapt and Woodwork Web, to kind of give you all more ideas to be helpful. Next slide. You could have an adaptive script holder where you attach a clipboard or book holder to a flexible arm stand, allowing actors, writers, or poets to be able to read their scripts or books hand-free. You can have a weighted instrument strap. So using a weighted or counterbalance strap for musical instruments helps distribute the weight evenly, so nobody experiences muscle fatigue or needs extra support. We showed you some of the no-slip plastic rubber on the previous slide, but you can put it under a pottery wheel, clay slab, or sculpting board to keep material stable while working. It's ideal for individuals who have limited grip strength and difficulty keeping surfaces steady. We also can have a page turner. I need one of these all the time. That's also what I use, a lightweight dowel or stylus with a Velcro grip glove, which we just showed you on the marker. It can help you turn pages in books, scripts, or sheet music, and it'll also help writers, actors, or musicians with disabilities to be able to follow along easier in the material that they're reading, sharing, acting, all of that great stuff. Next slide. Adjustable stage prop handles. We're going to use interchangeable or extended handles on props, puppets, or set pieces. Foot operated art tools. Like I said, people sometimes use them for other body parts than their feet to use them. I had a friend who used their head to do it because that's how they created. Tactile writing guide. You can use raised line paper, slotted guides, or an adaptive writing board to help poets and writers be able to align their text, because some people like it old school. They don't type on a computer. They want to handwrite it. And I think that's great. Sound activated stages or art equipment. You could set up a voice or sound controlled lighting, music cues, or assistive tech. You can buy, does anybody remember the button you could buy at Staples and you could push it and it lit up and it would say something like, you arrived at Staples? I don't know why they had it, but they did. Well, they now make things like that you can buy, and you can adapt them so that it will say stage left, stage right. You can program it to be however you want, whatever you want it to say. And I just showed somebody that you could buy inexpensive LED lighting that is voice controlled that will raise and lower the lights. So there's a lot of different ways to carry out activities of the arts in adaptable ways. And so we just want to make sure that y'all have some of these ideas so you're able to implement them. Next slide. Some of the factors that cause limitations, because we do know there are limitations sometimes. Maybe if you're not trained on the software that's available, maybe you don't know where to get the tech support. Maybe it might be new technology that you might have that the person isn't familiar with, right? They've never used it. You got to have time to learn it. That's what I always tell people. None of these things come with just, we're going to do them automatically when it involves technology. It's going to take a little learning. It's going to take a little trial and error, and that's okay. One size doesn't fit all. But you know what I say? One size doesn't fit anyone. That we all have to be flexible. And when we're adaptable, we're able to help individuals meet their needs. A thing I always like to share in the community: we don't know what we don't know. So if we don't know, then we go to the people who would know. And that means you could come to Able, South Carolina. You can contact Amanda. And the best person that you can ask is the individual who is with you wanting to participate. they can tell you what their strengths are. They can tell you what their abilities are. They can tell you their familiarity with software and other tools and strategies they've tried to implement. So when you are willing to hear them, that'll take you a long way. The reason I love art so much and woodworking and all of those things is the people who got me interested in them listened to me. And they asked me, what would help you to be able to participate? And then they allowed it to be a dialogue between the two of us. And then we worked together to find the right support to implement. When we listen to the community, that allows us to see what they need, how we can help them, and to meet the audience's needs. Next slide. I am so excited because now that we gave you all an overview, we are now going to hear from our panel of wonderful people. They have so much to bring to this discussion. We are going to get started.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Dori. That was such a great introduction, so much information. We had comments in the chat just saying, this is amazing how many options are out there to allow different points of access for folks. So super exciting. Thank you so much for this introduction. Awesome. So I have a few questions that we already have ready to go for our panel that I'm going to start with, but I'd like to invite the audience to just think through any questions that you all have as well. And if you have questions that come up along the way, please either unmute or put them in the chat. We would love to have those questions answered along the way as well. All right, wonderful. So the first question I am going to ask our panel is, what does assistive technology mean to you in your life?
Who wants to go first?
I'll go first. Sorry that I don't have my camera on, everybody. My power's been out and my internet's been out, and when I try to turn it on, it's all blurry. So I figured it'd be better just to leave it off. But assistive technology, to me, really applies to every technology because a lot of assistive technology is made from things that people already have, and people tend to think of assistive technology as being expensive, and it's really not. It can just be stuff that you uh you know find around your house. Like, I have a friend who paints, and she has some dexterity issues, and so she just attaches kitchen sponges to all of her paint brushes so she can grip it better, and kitchen sponges are like 3 for $1. So I really see an opportunity for assistive technology to be in everything. The main assistive technology that I use for my when I write is actually my cell phone, because I can't type very well on the keyboard on the computer. And so I like to be able to type on my phone and use the smaller keyboard where I can just use one finger. And then also, of course, there's speech to text, which I use sometimes, but not I'm a pretty fast typer just on my phone. So that's my main adaptation, and that didn't cost me anything because it just came on my phone, the way that I already have. So I would say that's what assistive technology means to me. It can really be brought into anything.
Thank you, Grace. I think that's helpful to help for this group to think about how broad assistive technology can be. And I think oftentimes people that are new to this conversation forget that assistive tech can be low tech too. And Dori obviously gave us a great examples of that. Thank you. Gabe and Angel, do you want to add anything from your perspectives?
Sure. So excuse me. Can you guys hear me?
We can.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure because I know I've had some trouble with my mic. So I would agree with what Grace said. When you think of accessible technology, it doesn't have to be like laptops or iPads. It could be, but it could also be low tech, like maybe having Braille on the elevator or on the bathroom door. And it is not it does not have to be expensive. And I would also agree with Dori where you really don't know what you don't know. And things change all the time, and like there's new technology um that is still relevantly new, there's some of it that has been released just this year and just a few years ago. And some of the technology I use, I that really helps me is I use a screen reader on my laptop called JAWS. And what's really cool is that it will read almost anything that's on your screen. Like if I had a website open where like I was maybe reading the news or reading an article, I JAWS would read um like what the article said, or I could use it to check emails. I will say sometimes I have ran into some accessibility issues with JAWS, especially like if I'm navigating through a PowerPoint or a slideshow. But I feel like it has really helped me, like within school and within the workplace. And I don't know, sorry about that. I've been getting a ton of notifications. But it has really helped me like through school and throughout the workplace. And I would not imagine where I would be if the technology that I use today didn't exist.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Gabe.
Gabe.
You're welcome.
Y'all hear me?
I don't think we can hear you, Angel.
Are y'all able to hear me?
Angel, no, not very well. There's a lot of
Okay,
background
are you
noise,
able to hear
kind
me?
of in and out.
Okay, I'm sorry about that. I'll try to answer it a little bit when I get to a quieter space.
That's all right, Angel. Let us know when you're ready, and we'll tag you back in. But thank you.
Amanda, can
Yeah.
we, I saw Isabel is on here too. Isabel Bourgeois. You want to introduce yourself, Isabel?
Yeah, sorry everyone. I was a little bit of a last minute addition. I work with Gabe. I am Gabe's supervisor, so I'm here both to support him. And I am also a young person with a disability. I am hard of hearing and I have a psychiatric disability. So one of the things that assistive technology means to me, if everyone's cool with me just jumping in,
Sure.
is that assistive technology means access. It means I'm able to enjoy the things that everyone else gets to enjoy. And it means I'm able to connect with the people around me and my peers and my family and my friends. Because without the assistive technology that I use, like captioning and my hearing aids and T-coil and large spaces, when I am able to use it, or having speaker or having my headset on so that I'm able to get sounds more focused where I need it to be. I'm not able to communicate as effectively, and I'm not able to connect or understand what other people are experiencing. So assistive technology to me just means that I am able to enjoy the world as I feel that it is best, and that I'm able to share those feelings with my loved ones.
Woohoo.
That's amazing. Thank you, Isabel. Every from what everyone has just shared, it ties back to the very beginning of what you said, Dori, that assistive technology is the great equalizer. I love that. I hadn't heard that before, and I just think everything you just shared is exactly that. We all want everyone to be able to participate, and assistive technology is allowing us to be able to do that in really interesting and amazing ways. I also, these conversations always just remind me how much accessibility is tailored to the art community, because we are creative people, and a lot of accessibility is about creative problem solving. and assistive technology can be a part of that conversation of how do we problem solve and allow people to enter spaces that maybe have not always been accessible. So thank you.
Amanda, Angel put something in the chat that I'm going to read for Angel. Angel
you.
said, I hope I am. Hold on. Mary, I might need your help with that because it's not scrolling back up for me and I wanted to
Sure.
read it.
Yeah, I
I'm
got
gonna
it.
let you do it. Thanks, Mary.
No problem. Thank you. To me, assistive technology, or AT, refers to any device, software, or system designed to help individuals with disabilities perform tasks that might otherwise be difficult or impossible. It can range from simple tools like a wheelchair or hearing aids to more complex systems such as screen readers for people with visual impairments or speech recognition software for those with, oop, it just scrolled
I got
wonky
that.
for me too.
Limited mobility. The goal of AT is to enhance independence, improve quality of life, and enable people to participate more in. I know it didn't scroll back down. Hold on.
Mine keeps
Participate
popping up
more.
too.
More.
More fully in everyday activities and
Activities.
society. Together. See, we're together using tech to put this,
Yay!
folks. This is just a perfect example. I see it as a bridge that empowers individuals by removing barriers, allowing them to achieve more in their personal, educational, and professional lives. Whether it's a communication aid for someone with a speech disability or a device that helps a person with limited mobility navigate their environment, AT has the potential to make a significant difference. Whoop. Okay, there we go. For me personally, again, this is Angel, I use all different types of assistive technology, everything from a shower transfer seat at home to an ADA ramp, that's Americans with Disabilities Act, ramp at the front entrance of my home. My wheelchair, I use a trackball mouse. I sometimes have to ask for accommodations at my place of employment, such as having a desk that's a good height for me, or something to raise my keyboard if needed. If I'm not able to move the table around, I use all sorts of different types of assistive technology. I want to use other kinds, and I'm looking into those soon. Most recently, I have upgraded my home to be more of a smart home. I have a lot of devices connected to my Alexa so that I can control lights and other things that I need to, like my fan if I can't reach it, because it's really difficult for me to reach plugs given the length of my arms. So I do utilize that technology to be able to turn my lights off and on, turn my fans on and off, my security camera. I even have a little robot at the house that I use to help me with stuff too. Thanks, Angel. That was lots of great ideas. I love that.
Awesome.
Great.
Woohoo.
Thank you. No, that was wonderful. All right, well, you all sort of answered the next question about how you use assistive technology. So I'm going to ask this next one. How have you seen assistive technology being supportive in a community environment? Have you been out in the community and found a way that assistive technology has been helpful?
I would say it is what keeps me out in the community. I wouldn't be able to go anywhere without my wheelchair. I have to give up my wheelchair for a couple days because I'm getting a new van with like the tie downs, and they have to add an attachment to your chair so you can lock in, and I'm going to be without my chair for 2 days, and I don't know what I'm going to do. But I think all kinds of assistive technology can help people to participate in community activities, like some of the sound box that makes the music that Dori was talking about, that would allow someone that maybe physically can't play an instrument to be a part of making music. Which I was in the band in high school, and it I was in the marching band too, and it was very much a community activity. It was a group to belong to, something to do with your time. Like, I was in the marching band, and we practiced 3 days a week, and we're together all day on Saturday. So music allowed me to kind of have a club or like a group to belong to and have an identity, and I really loved that opportunity. And so I encourage the youth that we work with to get involved with music and theater or writing, or we have a creative writing group. And I write poetry, which I've presented at advocacy day and various things like that. And so I think the arts and assistive technology is a good way to get involved in your community, if that makes sense.
That was great. Amanda, I'm going to give some good examples.
Please.
So on Sunday, I went to the South Carolina Philharmonic, and the South Carolina Philharmonic had a sensory friendly day event. And several things went on there that made it accessible for people with and without disabilities. Number one, it was an integrated event, so you could be with your family and friends and be in an environment that was user friendly for everyone. Number two, they know that the bright lights that they would normally have on some of their music and TVs that they have that show all of their upcoming events, they turned down the lighting. They turned off some of the TVs so there wasn't as much visual to have to absorb. They then had this amazing xylophonist who played soothing music. It was very, very soothing. Then they had different locations that they had. And I don't want, this is the name they used. Dori did not come up with the name. They had what we call a petting zoo. It is not a literal zoo. It is the opportunity to touch the instruments. And the musicians came out ahead of the presentation to meet the families, to integrate with them, and to explain their instruments to the individuals. But the individuals also got to actually physically touch them. That's what a petting zoo is. It's, y'all, what it means is it's an example of where people get to physically interact with the medium that's going to be taking part, so it's more digestible for them and it's not as overwhelming. Then from there, they had accessible seating. They offered options if individuals needed a quiet space or a quiet corner to go to, if it was overwhelming at all, whether it's the music and all of that. And I noticed they even turned down the symphony's volume of the music, wasn't quite as loud as it might be on a non-sensory friendly day. So they did a whole bunch of things to ensure that anyone who wanted to participate could participate. And they were, I think what stood out to me was it didn't take a lot to make people feel comfortable. And when I talked with the folks at the Philharmonic that day, they said, well, we just want everyone to come and we want everyone to feel included in our space. And that's important, that everyone feel included in the space. And they didn't have to go out and spend a lot of money. They just used what they had, and they sought out from the individuals that it was going to serve what would make this event friendly to you, that you would want to participate and be able to come with your family and enjoy an experience that you might not traditionally otherwise get to. So a whole bunch of things that I think were attitudinal barriers that were broken down, physical barriers were eradicated, social barriers were eradicated because you got to be in a setting that was integrated with the people you wanted to be with. And I think if we're able to do that, that's an amazing thing. and being able to touch the instruments for a lot of the folks that music was daunting was really, and they also picked music that was user friendly. The first music was Harry Potter, and I thought, wow, I knew what it was when it came on, and so I think it says a lot. So just wanted to show something that was integrated, that is a traditional thing that they typically do, but how they adapted it so that everyone could participate.
Thank you, Dori. Thanks for sharing that example. And for folks that are in South Carolina or who are not in South Carolina, knowing that there's organizations out there that are trying this out and that are having success, and some great examples to ask questions and to learn from what other organizations are doing. So thank you. Gabe, I think I saw you unmute a minute ago. Did you want to add how you've seen assistive technology out in the community?
I sure can. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Oh, there we go. So last year, I want to say it was in December, we had the pleasure of attending an event in both Columbia and Greenville, where we had an accessible movie night. And I would like to give a huge shout out to the people who were helping make that event possible. Everybody was super nice when we were there, and what they had was they had a device where there is audio description. So you would plug in headphones, and the device is very small. It's about maybe, I would say, it's not that big. Like, it's something that you could maybe put in your pocket. And you would hook it up to a pair of headphones, and it would describe everything that was going on in the movie. And I feel like that really helped me as someone who couldn't really see like what was going on behind the scenes. Like, it really helped me get a better description about like what was going on.
That sounds amazing, Gabe. What a cool way to allow folks to have that access. And that type of device would be amazing in live theater as well. So thinking about our performing arts centers.
It
Very cool.
it
Thank you for
would be,
sharing.
and I will say that I have been to a few live plays, and I lived in Washington State, and they had a device very similar, where you would plug in a pair of headphones, and then there's actually someone there describing what was going on while the play was taking place.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome.
Isabel, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Yeah, I can add some things about that from my perspective with my own disability. So I recently attended a live version of one of my favorite podcasts, which everyone's always like, how does a podcast work as a person who has a hearing disability? And I'm like, I like the experience of listening to the podcast. And then normally I go back and I read the transcript later. So kind of a double edge. But I got to attend and watch them in person and do a live show. And it was one of the very first events that I've attended that they automatically had closed captioning up on the screen, behind them, just showing everything and talking about everything that they were doing. And I had it listed out what was going on and what they were saying. And I thought that that was really cool that these podcasters that I've been listening to for such a long time immediately thought about my community and how I can access their live show and how they can be better accessible to people. And I was just thinking about how that could be implemented across so many like live things, like live theater, like you were talking about, Amanda, and just having those kinds of access. Well, maybe it's not the prettiest, most aesthetic thing, but it can be really helpful for people who, like me, who have difficulty hearing things, who are far away, who don't really quite understand what's going around them. Sometimes microphones are just really difficult with my hearing aids because it causes a lot of feedback, and they can't be super friendly. And then when I go into spaces without T-coil, then I'm missing that access. So I just really thinking about that and how that made that event so much more special for me. And then I just think about what's going on in my life and how I just use closed captionings of a lot of things, like when I go to weddings and I'm trying to listen to my friends' speeches. I'm in my early 20s, so everyone's getting married right now. We're starting wedding season in my phase of life. So I'm trying to listen to people's speeches, and I get to be able to just pull out my phone and read what my friends are saying to their loved ones and what they're talking about. I get to be able to sit in public and pull out a laptop or an iPad and have everything transcribed for me, and how that has just opened up a whole new world of opportunity for me where I'm able to go out and just kind of experience it. So that's kind of how I find assistive technology to be helpful for me in the community and where that kind of shows up.
Amazing. Thank you, Isabel. I think that's another great reminder of for organizations to think about how can we have that great customer service and think about the needs of our constituents on the front end. How can we make this event as inclusive as possible, and something like live captions or having an ASL interpreter available is a really is something that can be put in place.
Amanda, can I ask Isabel a quick question from one of the audience members?
Sure.
Isabel, they wanted to know, is that an app on your phone that automatically provides a transcript? And if it was, Isabel, could you put in the chat what app that was for them?
Yeah, I was actually in the middle of answering that too, Dori, in the chat.
Awesome.
So actually, iPhone has a feature where it will automatically transcribe things for you. It's in their settings. If you go to their accessibility settings, you can be able to turn it on, and then you'll open up a pop-up that is on that will come up on everything you do on your phone. It will listen to people around you. It will listen to what your phone's saying to you if you're watching videos. So it'll just be a little box, and then you can read everything that is kind of going on around you. I find it to be pretty helpful. Sometimes it isn't going to be incredibly accurate, as all things are with closed captioning, but I actually think it is normally pretty accurate. So I find that it is helpful. But setting completely free on your phone, no app needed, nothing downloading, nothing recording anything. You just turn it on. So I can put in the chat how to turn that on if that's helpful.
Thank you. Isabel, Jenny's wanting to know if she can email you about that. So I'll let you provide your email and all of that in the chat for. I'm not sure if it's Jeannie or Jenny, so thank you. And I also wanted to share that one of our folks said that.
Dori, I didn't hear what you just said.
I
I think you
know,
might
because
be.
I accidentally hit the mute. See, accessibility with your hands. This is what it's demonstrating, y'all. So, somebody shared that GalaPro. If you talk to your local theater, that we might be able to get GalaPro at your theater. Some of you are not in South Carolina like us, but we could perhaps get it here or wherever you're located. That's all they did, was they went to the theater and spoke with them. Thank you for sharing that, Regine. We appreciate that. I love learning more. I love the theater, so that makes me excited. You never know that's what's so great about these webinars. We've been able to learn from you, and I hope we've shared things that you've been able to learn from. I've walked away after each one learning something new from everybody. So this is a great opportunity.
Absolutely, I agree, Dori. There's so much information and so many amazing things happening. To be able just to share it in these spaces is a huge resource and an asset. We are just about to the end of our time. It's flown by today. So I wanted to just see if there was any last comments that the panel wanted to share with this group as we wrap up. And thank you all for sharing what you have shared. We really appreciate you being here and just sharing your experience.
Well, thank you for having us.
Absolutely.
And we can take questions from the audience, Amanda. We don't mind.
Yes, if anyone else has last questions, happy to pop them in the chat and we'll do our best to.
I was gonna add, like what Isabel said. iPhone has a lot of accessibility stuff. I use the assistive touch that I have trouble pushing the buttons, and so it's like a pop-up that comes up on your screen, and you can push the buttons that way. And then also they added a new feature that's very helpful. Sometimes I forget my communication device, or it's very heavy and hard to lug around. They also have a text to speech that's built into their accessibility menu, where if you press the power button 3 times, it'll pop up and you can type, and it'll speak the words out loud. So that's a relatively new feature that's been really useful to me, and I just wanted to say that in case people didn't know about it.
Thank
That
you,
is
Grace.
really
That,
cool.
yeah, very cool.
Did you, or what did you say that was called?
The touchscreen one is called Assistive Touch, and then I don't know what the text to speech is called. I think they just call it text to speech, but you just hit the power button 3 times and it pops up.
Oh, that is very neat.
Yeah, it's
It's
just like
amazing.
a little box that you can type in and push the button and it'll speak out loud. It's pretty cool.
That's very cool, Grace. It's amazing how much technology is changing and advancing and starting to integrate into our devices. Like an iPhone has all of these features that, again, to Dory's point, are free. They're available to you if you already own the device. So, and a plug for the Arts Commission for those of you who are in South Carolina, we do have some grant funds available to arts organizations who do want to provide accommodations that do cost funds. So please know that we have some funding available for those arts organizations to apply for. And if you have questions about that, please reach out to me at the Arts Commission. Our friends at ABLE also will be able to direct you our way. Well, all right, as we're wrapping up, I just want to say thank you again to Dori. Thank you to our panelists. Thank you all for being here and participating in this conversation. We will have our next webinar a month from now on May 7th, and it's going to be about how to make your programs accessible when you are in a location that you don't own. So a space that is not yours, how can you make that program accessible for folks? So it's going to be a great conversation. I hope that you choose to join us again on May 7th. And thank you again, everyone, for being here, and hope everyone has a great rest of your day.